All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Chopping It Up with P. Scott. I'm Prescott Kelly. Today is Wednesday, June 21st. Glad to have you back with us. You're here for the second time today. We had an early morning episode, got a late night episode. I got my dude Dolo J back in the building with me. God, I love this dude, man. Kickin the Dolo podcast on YouTube and Spotify. I swear to God, man, like some of the best people I know are people I've never met. And Dolo J is right up in there. Philip Thomas, get back in here too, dog. I had to have both you guys up in here. There was a big NBA trade. Oh, sorry. Before I get into that, yes, Kickin the Dolo podcast, YouTube, and Spotify, my dude Dolo J. There was a potential trade that was supposed to happen between the Wizards, Clippers, Celtics. And we want to dissect that. Where the Wizards were supposed to receive Marcus Morris, future draft compensation. The Clippers received Malcolm Brogdon, and the Celtics receive Kristaps Porzingis. But I think that's what I was told. But we have an absolute new development.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it is no longer the Clippers being involved in this trade. Now they have been replaced by the Memphis Grizzlies in the trade. So the three teams in the trade are the Boston Celtics, Washington Wizards, and the Memphis Grizzlies. The deal will still send Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics, also along with the 23rd pick in the 2023 draft, and also a top 10 protected pick from Golden State in the 2024 draft. The deal will also send Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies and Tyus Jones to the Wizards. And also Gallinari and Mike Muscala will be going to Washington as well.
I'm gonna need you to text me all that because that was not the info that I got.
Hey, I got you. I got you, my boy. I got you.
So you know what? All right. So if you ain't send me that in the message real quick, this is gonna be a really awkward conversation because I didn't realize all that much was changed. I thought only a little bit changed. But no. the whole land I'll filibuster. So the whole landscape just kind of changed within like 15 minutes, it sounds like.
Right.
So like you were saying, actually, you know what? I just got it right there. I can hit that out. All right, so it was Celtics traded Porzingis. The Wizards received Tyus Jones. Oh no, I got. You know what? I didn't have the notification until just now. This is the bullshit of living in Alaska, dog. I hate it.
That's that 4-hour time difference.
It's weird because like when it's live, it's still live. It's just like, I don't know. I don't live in an igloo. Like I really don't. Like you can just give me my information when I'm supposed to get it. So you had this information before I had it, apparently. So, apparently, yeah. So what do you think? Who do you think actually won this trade in its entirety? Because that's a pretty big swing, really, for every single team. For me, when I see it, I think that Memphis just basically replaced Dylan Brooks, but got a better, more professional Dylan Brooks, basically.
Yeah, but they gave up something they really needed, which was Tyus Jones, especially given the fact that John's going to be out the first 25 games of the season.
But they don't use Tyus though. That's because I'm with you. Tyus Jones is a great backup point guard. I love that dude, but they don't use him though.
I think it was something I read where he was like, when it comes to assist to turnover ratio, I think he led the NBA the last 5 seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right because I'm not sure about this year, but I have heard something in the past 5, 6, 7 years that he's either led the league or he's been close.
Yeah, like he's been top 3 at least the last 5 seasons, bro. So
yeah.
And then which it was one season, I don't know, it wasn't last season. I want to say it was the season before or the season they made it to the play-in where Ja missed a substantial amount of time and the Grizzlies only lost maybe 4 or 5 games over maybe a
That would have been
20
2 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, 20-25 game stretch. So like you already know what type of
You don't even, yeah. That's the whole thing is like people hyping up Ja. They were
right,
good without him too. You don't want to say they're better without him, but
right.
they were good without Ja.
Exactly. And Tyus Jones, given the fact of I would make the case that they weren't necessarily better without Ja, but the offense ran more smooth because Tyus Jones is more of a pure playmaker. And
Yeah, exactly.
he has I would say he has a better jumper than Morant. Morant's more explosive, get to the rim, more electrifying and stuff like that. But Tyus Jones he's a game manager. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like he's not going to throw the game away. He's going to keep it within the whatever the coach and organization wants and stuff like that. So I think he could be a starter on a lot of teams. But the fact
He
that
should be a starter in my eyes. I think what we're going to run into is I agree with you that he could. It's always weird because if you're a point guard, you get drafted when there's already a point guard in front of you, and that's not necessarily the case with Ja because he was there before Ja got there. But if you aren't necessarily looked at as the quintessential dynamic point guard,
right.
you get kind of pushed to the side, and he's just been pushed to that reserve role. But when he needs to start, he's the dude. So he's like he's the perfect, like if you were to equate this to football, he'd be the perfect backup quarterback. You cannot have him be your starter every single game. But if you want him to win you 4 or 5 games or in the NBA season between 15 and 23 games, he's absolutely the dude to kind of run the show for you.
Exactly. So, and then also well, the Celtics they did pick up Porzingis, which is more shooting is what their game plan is. They want to drive and kick, open threes and stuff like that. But you're losing the heart and soul of your team, in my opinion. Marcus Smart, what I'm saying, he was just the defensive player of the year, not
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So for them to give up on him so easily, in my opinion, and also he did spearheaded their comeback. When they were down 3-0 to Miami, also in the playoffs, he was a big part of that, setting up the offense, getting guys the ball in the right spots, playing defense, putting his body on the ground, being the ultimate hustle guy, and getting guys, calming guys down. When Tatum and Brown, basically when they start chirping too much with the referees, Marcus Smart is the one to be like, hey, come on, bro. Come sit over here with me, chill out.
Chill it out, yeah.
Yeah, so you missing that. So who is going to be that player for the Celtics? I mean, Al Horford is still there, so he could also be that player. But
he's, for what I understand, he's supposed to opt out.
So yeah, that's the thing about it. What I was just about to say, what do you do with Al if he does opt out? Then who becomes that voice?
Well, so from this transaction, Marcus Smart is going to Memphis, right?
Yes, and Tyus Jones is going to the Wizards.
So I think that's what they're trying to do as far as the growing up portion of this is concerned. Because Ja, when it comes to Ja, you can't, everyone's saying, once this transaction is done, the Wizards are like, oh, we're just going to either cut him or just trade CP3 to the Clippers because we're going to reunite him and we're just going to send him to a contender. But now the thought process is the Clippers are going to send him to or the Clippers are now shopping Paul George, which now negates everything that you thought that you were going to do.
Right.
So whatever you were thinking about doing as far as building up this young man's confidence, Marcus Smart seems to be the good way of doing it because this isn't just a John Morant issue. And I've been saying this on the show for the last 2 months. This is not a John Morant issue exclusively. The Memphis Grizzlies have failed Dylan Brooks. They have failed John Morant and all of their players. It's a young roster, and I get that. But they are not holding anybody accountable, and they're just kind of pushing it down the ladder. And I think that you're right. When they get Marcus Smart in there, I think he can be. I don't want to put so much pressure as he's the player coach,
right?
But you get the hard-nosed dude who makes the hustle plays, who says, "Yo, get your right because you're not right now."
Right.
And I think it's a great move for Memphis, especially because Memphis said, people have said Dylan Brooks will never play again. I don't believe that. I believe that he will get another job somewhere. It's just not there. So what they're doing is they're replacing Dylan Brooks with Marcus Smart, who is a better shooter and a better overall player and teammate
Right.
than Dylan Brooks.
Right. And also, just to add to your point, Marcus Smart has been to the finals. He's been to the finals and he's been to the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe, maybe 4 times, 5 times. So you have a guy, you also add a guy that's had deep playoff experience to a team that hasn't had a lot of players who've experienced like that. Maybe Steven Adams is probably the only one I can think of off the top of my head who's actually had like a deep playoff run before. But
For which Francis? I'm sorry. I was looking at the I was looking at the comments for a moment.
You good? Was it
for which team?
I want to say, was it OKC?
Oh, for Steven Adams?
Yeah, I think that's like he's the only guy I know who's had possibly at least a second round appearance. So
you mean for Memphis? Oh, I got you. Okay, well, I got you now. I'm back on board now.
Okay, so yeah, you, like I said, adding Marcus Smart to that, you have a guy who's been to the finals, been in the Eastern Conference Finals, know what it takes, you know what I'm saying, to take the next leap that Memphis wants to take. So adding them is quintessential for what they're trying to do and ultimately where they're trying to go. But at the same time, go ahead.
Oh no, I think so as well. And Lee, I hope I'm not butchering your last name. I think it was Lee Balos or Ballas. He had mentioned about Memphis that they lost a lot of leadership. And when at least I'm hoping not stepping out of bounds where the teams that you're talking about, but I think that he's referring to Memphis. But Memphis has never really had a big leadership thing, anyways, besides Steven Adams, like you mentioned, and that might be what Lee is kind of leading us into,
right?
Is that there's no adults there. They're all, I think that their average playing age is what, 23 and a half? Like they're my son's age.
Right.
And he's not even 9. Like they're all the same. What are we doing?
Hey man, you need some vets over there. They just need some solid vets, man. If they could get some vets that, and it's not, and what it is, a lot of teams just get vets, but they don't get vets that they know the players will listen to. It's a difference.
Yo, and that's entirely true. There is a veteran, and then because you can play in the league for 20 years but not be a vet, right? Or you can be somebody who's really like been in the trenches. And I try not to put too much stock into that. Like I try not to be the over analytic guy, like you need this guy in the locker room and things like that. But you need at least one, especially in the NBA, because it's such a small locker room. Like you got to have at least one dude who can wrangle dudes in and say, yo, you need to knock it the off.
Right.
Act exactly like a professional, dog.
So yeah. So with that, the Grizzlies game that Washington, Washington's just in full rebuild mode. So what they're doing, and what they're getting, I don't really expect them to keep a lot of their players. I think they might try and get some, they might keep a couple, but I expect them to try and get some draft capital off of all the newer pieces that they acquired. Given the fact you let Beal go, you know what I'm saying? You let Porzingis go. Kyle Kuzma, I think, declined his player option, if I'm not mistaken. So
he did, yeah.
So it's just like they're in full rebuild mode.
So and that was gonna be my next question to you, is because today's episode that I did was more from the Wizards perspective than the Suns perspective, because everybody is just leaning into what Phoenix is doing.
Right.
And I looked at it as, look, you're the Wizards. You agreed to pay Bradley Beal.
Right.
Bradley Beal. 5 years, $250 million for a guy who is a 3-time All-Star, and you guys have never won 50 games. Ever.
Dang, you got to think about how him and John Wall was like, especially when they first got together.
Dude, I thought that when they got John Wall and Bradley Beal, I thought they were going to run this joint for 5 years straight.
Me too, but
I thought they were going to be gangbusters. But this is what happens though sometimes. So when Washington sign Beal to that huge ass contract, I thought, well, that's kind of stupid. But you also got to think maybe this is a huge ploy. Maybe this is a long-term game instead of just this short-term game. And as an owner, sometimes you think. And the thing is, when it comes to the Wizards, there is nothing that they've done to make you believe that they're doing a long-term play because they haven't been good ever.
Right.
It's real tough to think that that's what they're trying to do. But I think that Washington, and here's how we're going to look at this. If Phoenix wins a championship this year, we are all going to say the Suns won that trade.
Exactly.
If they don't, and the Wizards get the number 1, 2, 3 overall pick the next 2 years, we are going to say Washington won that trade because that Beal trade is off the books.
Right.
CP3's trade or his numbers will be off the books. And then you've got infinity billion cap space because you have now, which we didn't know at the time, but there's no Porzingis. At the time, there's no Kuzma.
Right.
Your entire basic cap space is at your leisure, my lord.
Yes, sir.
It's
yes, sir.
crazy, dog. Because that roster is doo-doo butter, and nobody is getting paid besides basically Porzingis, Kuzma, and now CP3. Now that Beal's out.
Right. And then you got to think about it too. Also, just to touch on the Suns part of it, do they keep their roster? Because you know me, I'm not the biggest DeAndre Ayton fan. And also with them having what now
for what reason? I can I ask you for what reason though? He gets a lot of and I just want, and I'm not saying that you're going to be wrong for whatever you say. I just want to know why.
He doesn't play with enough force for me. He doesn't play with it. He doesn't play with enough force. As a guy of his size, I can understand, him not being the strongest of big men, but you got to go down there just like the infamous clip with him and Jokic, where he was just standing under the basket while KD was down there fighting with Jokic by himself for a rebound. Like, come on, bro. And then you want to say what you want me to do? Ugly. You can't say what you want me to do. I want you to get in there and rebound. That's what you 7 feet. What are you doing?
Can I ask you a question as far as a comp is concerned? And I don't want to be too out of pocket because when we talk about old centers, because the older centers were like, that was a different time. Right. And I'm talking 2000 or previous. Don't you, God, I feel like I'm going to be disrespecting so many people, especially Knicks fans. to me, DeAndre Ayton is just basically a slimmer Patrick Ewing.
Oh man,
is that a fair comp, or am I being too out of pocket?
I don't know. Patrick Ewing played with a lot more force than me.
They both love that 15-foot baseline jumper and weren't dominant in the middle.
But see, you in a dunk on you. I don't really see Ayton going down there dunking on folks like that to be 7 feet, bro.
Yo, my dude Jay Ness goes, wow, that's deep. I can't tell if he's actually telling me that he agrees with me or he's going, yo, that's some Neanderthal sports bullshit. I have no idea. Oh, here he is. He goes, Patrick Ewing was a brute and a physical.
That's what I'm saying.
Physical on both sides of the ball. No, he wasn't. Bruh. He wasn't a brute. He wasn't a brute. Jay, get out of here, dog.
Man, slam dunk on you like Patrick Ewing, P. Slam dunk on you like Patrick Ewing.
No. The reason, okay, here, yo, Dolo. The reason why Jay is being so out of pocket right now is because he's a Suns fan. If I compare DeAndre Ayton to Patrick Ewing, he's gonna be like his entire veins are just gonna be filled with sodium.
Oh man, bro. But no,
which is fair, and that's why I asked you. I'm just saying, I'm not saying they're both the same. I'm not saying they're both the same person.
Right.
But I've seen DeAndre Ayton yam on people, and I've seen Patrick Ewing kind of shrink and then like that 14, 15 foot baseline jumper.
But yeah,
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be mad dog Russo up in here.
But you gotta think about it though, P. Ayton is 7 feet tall, bro.
Yo, Jay, get the out of here. Yo, can you see Dolo, can you see?
No, I
Can you
can't
see
see
the
it.
group chat? You can't see the group chat?
I can't
That
see
is
it.
unfortunate because I could have swore that you could have. He said, bro had to go against Bill Cartwright. Yo, Jay, I will fight you. Look, there's no way that I'm coming from Alaska to Arizona to fight you, but if I ever do come to Arizona, I will fight you in the streets. Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright. Get out of here, dog. We ain't about that. Come on, man.
Hey, man. Look,
Bill
man.
Cartwright was the first Sean Marion when it came to that shot. You seen that ugly ass shot.
Oh,
Dolo, you remember that? Yeah, you get
like a dance. It look like he's dancing. You know what I'm talking about? Like I need to.
Oh, you know, hold on. We got music for this.
Hold on, where is it?
And
Hey, did that Sean Marion, please? DJP.
Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright.
Hey, man.
Yeah, that was so disrespectful.
Oh my gosh.
He also said that low key, I was a Knicks fan in the 90s. Man, you better.
Hey, man. So
okay.
He know from both sides.
All right. So he's like live in the chat. He is
active. He turned.
He turned. Yeah, he's live in the chat. He goes, low key, I was a Knicks fan in the 90s. And he says, right. But all jokes aside, you had to be physical to play center in the 90s. Yeah, because nobody could shoot. It was a center's league back then.
Hey, man.
Bill Cartwright.
Hey, man.
Dog, get out of here.
I'm just saying, though, Aiden, I don't know, man. And then the Phoenix Suns.
And by the way, I love Jay. Jay's like the best dude out there. I love that cat. I really do.
Hey, man, sometimes
he said Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright.
He had to let you know where he was coming from. He had to make his point known. But
I feel it.
But I don't know.
You can't do Aiden and Ewing though. No, I'm just look. So he's throwing out there. He's like, you can't do Aiden and Ewing. And I'm not saying that Aiden and Ewing are the same person.
Right.
It was a different league, and I get it. But my point is though, is that at this point in time, when it comes to the NBA, if you're a center, you have to be basically a point guard to be valuable, which is why Embiid is so valuable. Same thing with Jokic. But like Ayton isn't that dude, but he's still valuable to a degree. I'm just saying their games are similar, where I saw so many times in the early 90s where Patrick Ewing would just shoot that 14-foot baseline jumper, and it was the prettiest thing that I've ever goddamn seen.
Right. And I
loved it. So I'm not dogging him. It's just like, but when you see back then, it was Ewing doing that was something that we hadn't really seen before. But now, if you can't do that as a center, period, you might as well just get the hell out the league, dog. You might as well go to Bangladesh.
Hey, man, you got to be able to shoot a three in today's league. You can't shoot a three. You can't hit the court, basicly. Unless you're going to strictly get rebounds. That's just it. Like
Steph Curry has ruined basketball. he hasn't, but
hey, like I can't really like argue that. I can't argue that. Because
so Jay makes a good point. He goes, remember Papa Sabonis.
Oh yeah.
Arvydas, but he wasn't jacking threes though. But he was basically Jokic with a less accurate jumper.
Right.
He was way ahead of his time though.
Hey man.
I'm sorry. I'm getting too involved with the chat and I kind of cut you off, dog.
Oh no, you good. It's good that they in there, you know what I'm saying, they voicing their opinion. But Aiden, bro, I don't know, because like don't Phoenix have like 4 max contract players now?
They do, because they got Ayton, Durant, Booker, and Beal.
Yeah, so like you don't have no bench whatsoever. Like
I think that you can win without a bench if all your dudes stay healthy. But that's the biggest if. And that can never. And that's the same thing with like when you look at LA,
right?
It's the same thing. Like LeBron's still a top 10 dude. AD is still a top 10 dude. But do you trust them both to be on the floor for 2 months straight? Because I don't.
Nah, no. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, so if they don't have a bench, P, they're going to have to basically play what, 44, 45 minutes a game? And we already seen against the Nuggets in the playoffs how that, you know what I'm saying, how having a bench can really, really help you. And you know what I'm saying, get your starters rest. And you know, they can come back in the game more fresh. Or sometimes if you have a nice bench, they can change the momentum of the game if your starters aren't playing well. So in my opinion, every good team, no matter how many, you can have a big three, but I still believe in also having a competent bench as well to go along with it.
No, I totally agree with that. But I think that when I look at NBA teams specifically, is that if your starting bench is that incredibly overwhelming, you can kind of get away without a bench. But I had a thought and it went away. Sorry, I got distracted by Jay. He says so Jay kind of agrees with you. He says zero bench can still bring Trey Craig, TJ Warren, and Ross. I forgot that TJ Warren was still on the Suns, actually.
Oh, yeah, he got traded when KD got traded over there. Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, they okay, but don't you think they'd be better off if they could try and add another piece?
Well, I'm totally good if they want to add another piece. And I think that what we need to, when I look at the NBA as it's currently constructed, is that so Aiden's making what, 3 years, $100 million a year?
Yeah.
I think, or not $100 million a year. I'm sorry, but like 3 years over $100 million over 3 years.
Yeah.
So in that ballpark, what I would think that would be the best thing to do for Phoenix is to trade Ayton.
Right.
And I think that's what most people are thinking, is that you trade Ayton, get that number off your books, and then just get a big who doesn't need to score, doesn't need to be any type of offensive threat, and is literally just a defensive lockdown dude. And guess what? You can get that guy for less than $10 million a year. And if he's making 30, you can get 10 mil for that dude, and then still get some role players and then get some ancillary pieces as well to kind of round out your roster. But and you may not be able to do that with just one team. You may have to get a third team involved in order to do that. But I think that Aiden's the odd man out, but you don't need him if you got those three dynamic scores.
Right.
And also, I think that, okay, before, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm kind of hijacking this.
Bro, you good, bro. We just talking.
Right now.
We just talking, bro. We just chatting, talking.
Oh, no, you go. But like, I feel bad because I'm kind of hijacking it. But I think that Cam Payne is a really underrated point guard. And we see this when it comes to professional sports, regardless of what sport it is. If you have the opportunity to get some run, your numbers automatically go up, right? So you losing CP3 is good for Cam Payne. Obviously, Bradley Beal is going to take some of your numbers, but you're going to get more burnt. And Cam Payne is he's a better shooter than CP3. He's a more willing shooter than CP3. He's quicker than him.
Right.
I think that started, even if you kept that starting five and people want to dog on Cameron Payne as long as they want to, I like Cameron Payne better than most. I'm not saying that he's going to be an all-star. I'm not doing that.
Oh no, we're not exaggerating or anything.
Yeah, we ain't doing that. But I think that he's a very, very, very capable point guard, and he's one of those fringe guys, man. He's like I said, he's the backup quarterback. If he starts 5 or 6 games for you, if you go 500, you're good, man. But you also got 3 dynamic scores there.
Hey, man, and it's gonna be real hard. Like, so with campaign being on the court, so I honestly believe maybe because we know campaign is more of a scoring punch than CP3 was. So who you think? So who do you believe is going to initiate the offense? Do you think it's going to be Brad or do you think it's going to be Devin? Because I can see both of them kind of sharing it with a little bit
load.
Right.
Yeah.
Also with a little bit of KD, but I think majority of the time the ball's probably going to be in Devin Booker's hands. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong.
No, actually when I Now that I kind of think, because I didn't watch a whole lot of Phoenix Suns hoops during
Right,
this past season, but I think when I did, Campaign is one of those dudes who he can absolutely shoot off the dribble,
right,
but he can also catch and shoot.
right.
So if you're asking me who would I rather run the offense, I it's a slight, it's very slight, but I would say I would probably say Campaign because I want Booker to run off of screens,
Right.
and I think that his decision making is the thing is I think his decision making is better than Campaign, but CP3 is scared to shoot when he needs to shoot.
Right.
Campaign ain't scared of dog. Like
Oh yeah.
he will yank it if he needs to.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. But I do think that most of the offense will initially. Oh well, Frank Vogel's our coach now, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that does. I mean, on the offensive end, I'm not really sure. I do think that Devin Booker will probably run most of the offense. God, offensively, dude, they could average 130 every single night, man.
They could. They just got to
That
stay
offense
healthy.
is bonkers.
They just got to stay healthy. That's all it is. Because you got basically three guys who could create their own shot. Three different guys. How many teams have three different guys that can create their own shot?
But see, that's the whole thing. Like, so can I ask you a question real quick?
Go ahead.
Are you tired of hearing the phrase big three?
I do think it is an overused term. Yes.
Thank you. Because the thing is, like, when Bradley Beal was in Washington, he was an afterthought. But now that he gets to Phoenix, now that he has Devin Booker, Booker, Durant, and now him, it's now it's a big three.
Right.
Well, you didn't think he was when he was in Washington though. So what? So how is that a big three? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I think big, and this has always been my argument is that we have so much talent in the NBA right now
You're right.
that everybody's kind of interchangeable. There's 5 to 10 dudes who absolutely move the market. There's 5 to 10 dudes where you put them on any team whatsoever, and they are automatically a playoff team.
Exactly.
But everybody else is just a dude. Like I remember when Kyle Kuzma got dealt to Washington, and Laker fans were going, you can't get rid of Kuzma after one good year. Really? Because you said about THT as well.
Right.
Because y'all was on THC, dog. Like this.
And now he's in Utah. And now he's in Utah. So
wait, he's in Utah?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was in Utah this past season. I didn't even know either till like it was one game. I forgot who they might have been playing the Clippers that game actually. And I seen him. And I think he probably scored on like Paul George or something like that. He wasn't even starting, I don't think. I think he was coming off the bench for them. So which is crazy.
Well, that's like that's my whole thing is like every time that my whole thing when it comes to professional athletes is that we're the normal folk, right?
Exactly.
Right. And the people who we scrutinize, like who do we debate every single goddamn day?
The superhumans.
Superhumans. You're right. It's LeBron versus MJ. It's Brady versus Montana and all this other wild. But the guys in between were like, oh no, they're great. You can't lose them.
Right.
Yeah, they're all interchangeable, dog. It all depends on coaching. It depends on spacing. It depends on who you play with too. And it's no different in the NBA than it is in the NFL, in my opinion.
Right. When you look at the basis of it, yeah, you're correct on that part. You're definitely correct on that part. And like you said, like it's a lot of guys you could have. I'm not going to say it's a lot of guys, that would have been considered a big three if you put them with Booker and KD. But I think it's a couple of more guys that if you would have put them with there, they would also be called a big three. And also a thing just because three, I would say like three top level players, like when Bosh and Wade and Braun got together. Now that's a big three. KD, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce. That's a big three. You know what I'm saying? Things along
those two are legitimate. I absolutely give you that.
Like when you got three guys like that, that's a big three. And then a lot of times nowadays we're just taking it might be one extremely talented player or two extremely talented players, and
then one borderline all-star, and we're like,
right,
whoa.
big three, right? You know what I'm saying? So,
well, because like that's the whole thing. Like Milwaukee, they go, you got a big three. What is it? It's Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton.
yeah,
Like that. Like that's your big three. You go to Miami, your big three is Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and
Tyler Hero.
Tyler Hero, I guess. Like you can go across every single team and say, well, that's their big three. And it's just it's such a lazy sports take that people are doing where this is the new big three. No, there's not. There's 5 to 10 dudes who absolutely move the needle, and then everybody else is an ancillary piece and replaceable because if you make it to the league, spoiler alert, you can hoop.
Right. Because you got to think about it. Even
Duncan Robinson.
Bro,
Duncan Robinson. All 31 flavors with one move. He got 31 flavors and one move.
He got 31 flavors of that jump shot, Pete.
He got 31 flavors and one move, and it is spot up jumper. And every once in a while, if he wants to pull the okey doke, he can go ahead and get you a left-hand layup because everybody thinks he's shooting that three.
Hey man, at least he started
out of here, Duncan Robinson.
At least he started finally cutting to the basket, you know. But
finally, yeah, it took him 3 years. It took him 3 years, but I mean, he here though.
Yeah, man. 3 years and Tyler Hero breaking his hand. I almost forgot that.
And we have gotten so off topic, it's crazy, but this is the beauty of doing this. Duncan Robinson would not have seen any. This is how badly, not just Eric Spoelstra, but how much Pat Riley hated. And I don't like using that word loosely, but hated Duncan Robinson. It took Tyler Hero breaking his hand and Victor Oladipo rupturing his Achilles or tearing his ACL or whatever he did. It took that to get Duncan Robinson back on the court. He lost everything, dog, because all of his money was incentive laced, and they're like, yeah, you good, but we made a mistake, and you know what? Now we now know it. We didn't at the dude. Do you remember at the time that they were not willing to give up either Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero to get James Harden? Do you remember that time in history? Because I sure as hell do.
Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Why?
It was stupid, dog.
I would have gave up both of them. You can have both of them. You want to pick two? You want to pick two? You can have it. Right.
And look, you and I, we're not trying to be prisoner of the moment, guys. I remember at that point in time, and I know it's a little bit tough for people to understand because the James Harden slander it's pretty egregious, right? Like they're really hammering on him because of what he used to be.
Right.
Averaging triple doubles, getting 30 a night, but he was also getting 15 free throws per night. And they changed the rules, and I get that. But then he turned more into a traditional point guard.
Right.
And Philly was still good though. But you would rather have Duncan Robinson than James Harden.
No, bro.
Okay.
No.
Let's go ahead and have that conversation, Pat Riley.
And then speaking of the Miami Heat, you know they're still not trying to get off Tyler Hero as we speak. Like they said they want to build around Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler Hero.
Yeah. It's impossible.
Right.
It's not so much that it's impossible. I've got about 15 minutes left. But if your goal is to get Dame Lillard,
right,
it's impossible.
Right, because you're gonna have to give up somebody for him. One of those two.
Right, exactly. And that was my point on my episode this morning or it may have been 2 days ago. All the days are running together. Was you can't get Dame unless you give up the guys that you weren't willing to give up beforehand. So if it's not Dame, it's got to be Tyler Hero. If it's not Tyler Hero, it's got to be Jimmy. If it's not Jimmy, it's got to be Bam. Like, you have to figure, one, for salaries, and two, just fucking duh.
Right. So it's just like, I don't know how they're going to do it. And then I also seen another piece where they're saying like Pat Riley was okay with running back the squad he had. And I'm just like, so you just, I mean, if you get to the finals again, that's cool. But don't you want to hoist the final trophy up again? Like,
it's always, I always have I have a mixed emotion when it comes to that, because when you say, I want to run it back,
right.
If you've won one ring at least, and most of your core is pretty young, regardless of sport,
right?
I can say, okay, I kind of get it. But if you're saying I want to run it back and you haven't won anything in a decade plus, no, you should probably want to get better.
Exactly.
And this is where Miami is. And I said this on a previous episode, was like, these owners, you have new owner-itis like Matt Ishbia in Phoenix, and you have old owner-itis like Robert Kraft and Pat Riley. No, I'm trying to get one now before I die, because Father Time is undefeated.
Right.
So if you got to ship out Jimmy Butler, and people keep telling me Jimmy Butler's off the table, and I keep telling people, do not be surprised if you see Jimmy Butler potentially be a trading chip to get Dame Lillard, so they can keep Adebayo and Hero and everything like that. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but don't be surprised if that's how the outcome works out, though.
Yeah. I mean, anything can happen in the NBA. Anything can happen. It's the off season. Who knows?
Chris Paul got traded on a goddamn plane, dog. Like, you don't get anointed the point god and then get traded on a plane. That's crazy to me.
Man.
Is that disrespectful? Because I feel like that's disrespectful.
And then it was one time he wanted to, remember when he was supposed to go team up with Kobe and they vetoed it?
Yeah, dog. It's not like that. I didn't necessarily forget about it, but when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, that's right. They will let him go to the other LA team. You can go to the Clippers, but you can't go to the Lakers.
Bro, they already know
that's some disrespectful.
They know what them
dog.
They know what them two was gonna do to the rest of the league. What? Kobe and Chris Paul? What? Man.
And they had Powell.
No, Powell was gonna go to the Rockets.
Wasn't Powell still there?
Yeah, he was there. He was gonna be a part. Yeah, he was gonna be part of the trade. He was gonna get sent to the Rockets. I want to say, was it the 20? They did this 2011?
Yeah, but Chris Paul wasn't on the Rockets in 2011 though. Oh, it was like a 3-team deal, because I forget exactly. Yeah, I forget. Yeah, I was gonna say I forget all of all the specifics on it though. So what was supposed to happen?
I can't remember exactly, but I think it was a Hornets, Lakers, and Rockets trade. Powell was supposed to go to the Powell was supposed to go to the Rockets. CP3 was supposed to go to the Lakers, and I forgot what the Hornets were supposed to get out of that.
Luis Scola?
Probably like some draft capital or something like that, something along those lines. But yeah, man, I was like, wow, because I think the Lakers, didn't they still have Bynum? I don't think they traded Bynum to Philly yet before that.
The Lakers?
Yeah. I want to say Bynum was still a Laker at that time.
Jesus Christ. The fact that we're still talking about Andrew Bynum makes me feel old as hell.
Hey, man, it makes me feel old too. But yeah, bro, that was Chris Paul and got.
Are we sure? Man, I swear to God, it better not be Andrew Bynum, because I swear to God, man, I'm gonna hang this entire up.
That's what it was, bro. I'm telling you, Andrew Bynum was still there. They were gonna keep Bynum and get rid of Powell.
What was it, like you said? Like wasn't that 12 years ago?
Yeah, Chris Paul been getting gypped for a long time, bro. He been getting gypped for a long time. They've been doing him dirty for a long time, bro.
I don't like this, man. I'm almost 40 and I don't like this. I thought we were friends, dog. you just I thought you were like, hey, remember when Kevin McHale did some wild shit? I wouldn't remember because I was there.
Oh man, I wouldn't even thought of P. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
I thought we We're friends.
We are, bro. It's just,
Well, I do wish that we had more time to get. It's so wild, man. We didn't even get to like 2/3 of that conversation or 2/3 of that transaction. But what we will do is, are you available? You said you're available on Friday and Saturday?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, tell you what, I'm available tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. So if you'd like to pick up this conversation and keep it going, we can absolutely do that if you have time for it.
Definitely.
Yo, man, that's my dude Dolo J of the Kickin It Dolo podcast. I always hate the fact that it's like so late where I'm at because it's 10:30 here, which means it's like 2:30 where you live in Georgia. And we don't get a whole lot of exposure on the live stuff. But, dog, if you got time, sometime before 8 p.m. your time, we're going to get some real traction.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Make sure you support my dude Dolo J of the Kickin It Dolo podcast on YouTube and Spotify. I am Prescott Kelly. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music now. You guys know the drill. Stay up, stay blessed. We can just vibe out to some music, dog.
I told you I had to hit it last time. The T-Rex arm. You know what I'm saying? The little T-Rex arm. You know what I'm talking
about? This ain't going to the podcast anyway. It's all good, man. If you feeling the vibe, dog, it's all good.
Hey, you can put me on there. You can put me on.
Oh. Tell you what, you want me to give you a more upbeat. So I can end the broadcast if you want to freestyle, or if you want to freestyle right now, I can just do that and switch it again.
They gotta pay me for that one, P. They gotta pay me for that. They gotta pay me for that.
Yo, send me that Cash App. I'll do it right now. I will switch the gear right now. You send me that Cash App, dog, and we about to be on it.
Oh man.
Hey man, you ain't gotta get ready if you stay ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Stay locked and loaded.
I'm telling you, man. All right. If I'm gonna make you freestyle, I'll tell you what. I'll do this off camera. I want to hear you freestyle.
Oh man, bro.
Yeah, no. I'm ending it.